yes, and welcome to the very first episode of Underground Genius. As I mentioned in the trailer that was posted a couple of days ago, it just took a lot of time and energy for me to launch this podcast, so if you're listening, I sincerely appreciate it. And I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to enjoy what I have in store. So first and foremost, this podcast is brought to you by Vagrant by Sunset, which is a media company I had launched earlier this year. And obviously, we've all had a lot of time on our hands, some more than others. And I figured right now was the perfect time for me to launch this company. So this is going to be the very first product in hopefully a series of different products that the company has to offer. So before I even get into any type of content as far as what this podcast is going to be about, there's some shout outs that I just got to do. There are a lot of people that this podcast wouldn't be, this version, this format, it wouldn't be possible without these people. So I just want to shout them out. So, and this is going to be in no particular order at all. So the artwork. If you're watching on YouTube or if you pick whatever podcast platform of choice, obviously that's the first thing you're going to see. And the artwork was created by an individual who goes by the name of IKY Guy. So not only is he a visual artist, but he's also a musician. And you can find him at IKY Guy Music on Instagram, which is actually where I found him. I actually found him through one of those hashtags. It was a design hashtag. And you shouldn't ever if you're a creator, you shouldn't underestimate the power of a hashtag, because that could be something to connect you to your next big client or whatever the case may be. So if you've noticed, the artwork is a little bit Japanese inspired, and that's kind of consistent throughout his work. But his work is also it's also very inspired by music and film as well. So when I reached out to him, I actually didn't really have too much of an idea of what I wanted to get done. I just know what looks good, but I wouldn't be able to tell you how to make it look. So it was definitely reassuring when he came back to me with this piece, when I gave him kind of like the idea of what I wanted to go for with this podcast, and kind of like what I wanted to communicate with the artwork. So like I said, when he came through with this, I was highly impressed. So shout out to him. If you want to see just his art work, like his commissions that he's done for art, that would be the Instagram page for that would be actually his stage name of sorts, but backwards. So instead of IKYGUY, it's actually YUGYKI. So you can search that up on Instagram, check out his work. And if I'm not mistaken, he is accepting commissions right now. So definitely shout out to him. And as far as the music is concerned, the music that's actually playing right now, that's brought to you by a beat maker who goes by the name of NK Music. So that's N as in Nancy, K Music. So I found his music just searching random lo-fi music, lo-fi beats. And for the most part, I kind of want to use that throughout the entirety of this podcast. So I actually ended up on a website, beatstars.com. And I stumbled on his page, which at the time of this recording has about 9,000 followers, and he's amassed over 600,000 streams just on that site alone. And right now he has over 600 beats to choose from. And not only are the beats dope, but just the pricing is unmatched. It's very, very, very reasonable rates, and he also offers a whole bunch of deals and such. So I would definitely personally recommend checking out his stuff if you're looking for beats, maybe for your own professional or personal work, or if you're just trying to vibe out and just like listen to some like chill lo-fi beats. He's definitely somebody worth looking up. His page, of course, would be beatstars.com/NK Music, or you could just search him up on YouTube, same name, NK Music. And if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you've stumbled across my Instagram page and you saw, I guess, the promotional trailer for this podcast, you'd have definitely seen the animation that's done for it, the pixel animation. The animation was done by a gentleman by the name of Fernando Enrique, who I also found on Instagram. And that was through like a pixel art hashtag. So I knew I wanted to go with pixel art just for the visuals, just because of the fact that I don't know, I just have an affinity for it when it comes to things like animation, but also like video games and stuff like that. So that was something I really wanted to incorporate. And for this, I actually had a working theme of what I wanted to be communicated in the visuals. So when I connected with him, it was a very seamless process, and he knew exactly what I wanted to be captured in those animations. And the turnaround time is just amazing. He's also a video game programmer, and right now he's working on a few upcoming titles. And if you wanted to see his work, it would also be on Instagram through his handle, which is at Fernando_HC_S. It's a mouthful, but I definitely recommend going through it. You will definitely be impressed. And then last but not least, this is a small little detail, but I always got to shout this guy out. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the poster that's right behind me. That was actually done by my son, Greg, who is also going by Betties and is well known by that name in the design industry. So I met Betties a while back. We actually used to work together at the same retail clothing store. And to see him progress to the point that he's at right now, as far as his own personal work, his professional work, and everything in between, it just makes me proud to be able to call somebody like that my friend. That's definitely the homie for real. Aside from making prints like this, he also uses his brand Wavy Baby NYC not only to redefine consumers' expectations of streetwear and fashion design, but he also promotes social change for several different marginalized communities. And as a fellow Black creator, I definitely commend him and all the work that he's doing. So definitely check out wavybabynYC.com, or you can check him out on Instagram. That's going to be at Betties. So that's BETTIES, 2_. You know, he fancy. So moving on. Through social media, I was actually able to meet all of these guys, with the exception of Betties, of course. But aside from that, Underground Genius is just going to be run, operated, produced solely by me. So I'm recording it. I'm recording the audio. I'm filming it. I'm editing it, and I'm distributing it across all platforms. And I know it sounds like a lot of work, but it's definitely the most fulfilling work that I've ever done in my entire life. So if you're like sitting on an idea, if it's creative, if it's professional, anything, if you've been sitting on it for the past couple months, years, or whatever the case may be, I would definitely recommend starting. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of work for you to get it to where you want it to be, but once it's there, there's no greater feeling in life. All right, so as far as what Underground Genius is, you can think of it as the culmination of my creative exploits coupled with my desire to disseminate information. Spoiler alert, I'm an English major, or I was an English major, and I got my degree in creative writing, so I'm going to sprinkle a little sazon, a little fancy verbiage from time to time, so bear with me, please. So this project, Underground Genius, it actually didn't start off as a podcast. Believe it or not, it started off as an album. Way back in the day, one of my things that I wanted to do was I wanted to rap. I was a rapper for, I guess, several years. And long story short, I decided that music and an album and just rap wouldn't be the best format for me to get whatever message I had out to the masses. So let's take a step back. As far as me saying that I was a rapper, so in middle school, so think like mid 2000s, 05, 06 ish, I decided that I wanted to pursue music as a profession. That was the only thing I ever wanted to do. And I actually chose my high school just because of the fact that it had a recording studio in there, which in retrospect probably wasn't the best decision academically speaking, but it's not something I regret at all. So over time, I started to demonstrate my acumen for music, for hip hop music specifically. But as the years passed, I became the guy who said he was a rapper, but then at the same time never really showcased or showed or even had any music to show anybody. So people would like come up to me and go like, "Yo, Kyle, you're a rapper, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Yo, let me hear some." "Yo, it's still in the works, but it'll be up soon. Just feel me, just be on the lookout." And that just became a running theme for years. And that was for a couple reasons. But there were two main reasons why it kind of never panned out the way I planned out. The first one was, and this is something that a lot of creators, all creators, I'm pretty sure would be able to relate with. Every time I recorded something, I always felt like it wasn't my best foot forward. It wasn't my best work. So instead of putting it out there and getting feedback or whatever the case may be, I just let it sit. And the second reason was that I absolutely hated my rapper voice. Like I hated it. To this day, I still hate it. It's just like, I would listen to my recordings and go like, yeah, this is not somebody I would want to listen to consistently if we're talking about rap. I just hated it. But that didn't stop me. Those two things didn't stop me from at least pursuing it and putting things in motion. And what I mean by that is, so fast forward to mid 2010s, I was setting up to release a mixtape because those were, instead of albums, independent people where they were releasing mixtapes. So I was setting up to release a mixtape and I did a whole bunch of things. I originally, I wanted it to coincide with a launch party, like the release of the mixtape. The launch party would double as an art show. And I wanted to collaborate with a visual artist, whether it was a photographer, a painter, a digital designer, or something of the sort, or filmmaker, or whatever the case may be. And I wanted to kind of curate an exhibition that kind of aligned with the music, whether it was directly influenced or inspired by, or it shared similar themes that were found in the music that I was making. And to do this, I vetted a whole bunch of different artists. I found a venue in NYC for me to actually host this party. And I got an alcohol sponsor because, of course, even though I was a relatively new name, people would just come out if they heard that there was free alcohol at an event. So I did all these things, and I was working on the beats on the project. Also, another fun fact about me, in addition to rapping, high school was when I started to work on audio engineering, and when I also started to make beats. But more on that at another time. So I was doing all that, and I had all those things set, but I don't know. As time went on, I just started talking less and less and less about it until the idea just died. You know, and like I said before, there was no real place, one place for me to point to people if they were interested in figuring out what my sound was or listening to a project or whatever the case may be. So right before graduating college in around 2017, I just abandoned the idea of rap completely. And this is when I really got into my photography bag. And what I mean by that is I bought an expensive camera and I let the camera do the work for me. I was going on shoots and people were booking me I really didn't have too much of an idea of what was going on, but I mean, it worked for me for a while, so I wasn't complaining. So at that time, I kind of started a short-lived blog. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to still work with, different creators, visual artists, other rappers, writers, poets, et cetera, et cetera. I wanted to kind of like have a centralized hub to feature their work. So I made that blog. I went to one of those web page building websites. I built it from the ground up, and it looked great, but I wasn't enthusiastic about it, and that idea swiftly but painfully died. So oh yeah, as far as what I was doing in college, I initially started college as a music production major, and after two different schools and several $1,000s in student debt later, I realized that that was perhaps the biggest waste of time that I've ever needlessly gone through. And what I mean by that is the major itself. Now, of course, college and specifically that major, it's it's definitely a good area to kind of cultivate relationships with other people. So at the very least, that's what you can use it for. But aside from that, it just I don't know. It just wasn't for me, that major. And what I mean is I had the professors telling me like, hey, listen, like to pursue this as a profession, you don't necessarily have to go to college for it. This is not something that I went to college for personally. And this is still the professor speaking. The professor went something like, I'm just here to kind of like cultivate this environment of creativity and answer whatever questions you have. But aside from that, you don't necessarily need college. And once I realized that, at that time, unfortunately, I was already far too in to drop out. I decided I needed to get a degree just because of the fact that if I didn't, it would just be a waste of a substantial amount of money. And I would owe those loans for absolutely no reason. So I had to think about what would get me the degree the fastest. And that still aligned with something that I was interested in, but was also easy. And after jumping through a bunch of different majors, I settled on English. So I graduated with a degree in creative writing. And this led me to getting a job as a journalist, first an internship and then a job. And it was cool. It was really cool. I love the ability to analyze and disseminate key points of information that I thought were important for the average consumer. And I felt that there were a lot of opportunities for me to correct blogger or journalistic behaviors that I've noticed in the current landscape. I was ambitious, and that intention was ambitious, and I quickly learned that that wasn't something that could be done overnight, and that wasn't something that one sole person could do, especially considering when you're going to work for an organization that was already established and you're more or less a no name. Still, I was and I still am extremely grateful for that experience. It was definitely a very, very eye-opening experience. Of course, a lot of things I would do differently now, but again, definitely something that I look back on, and I'm really glad I went through that experience. All right. So what is it that I'm doing with Underground Genius? So I'm still trying to highlight creators of all different kinds, of all backgrounds, et cetera, et cetera. Throughout the course of this podcast, I'll be interviewing them as well. So look forward to that. And I'll be showcasing their work. And as far as larger artists, as far as larger platforms, as far as, you know, things and people and companies that are already established, I kind of want to take several different things, several different points about them, and just talk about them and just kind of relate them and show the intersectionality between one or more between different industries, just because of the fact that there's a lot to be learned by studying an industry or a sector or a genre that's different than your own personal one. And I feel like there are a lot of lessons that are to be learned that are beneficial for any creator or any professional or just anybody just trying to navigate this current generation. So if you're a musician, a photographer, a painter, a game designer, literally anybody who creates anything, contact me and put me on because I definitely like to talk about it on this platform. I would definitely love to get your perspective and get some insight into whatever industry you're in. And I just like I don't know, man. I just like sharing the wealth of content that's out there, you know? Of course, you can contact me through Instagram. That's at Keys. The spelling is a little bit weird, so it's KXYES. Don't ask me why it's spelled like that. For a more direct method of contact, you can email me at undergroundgenius@gmail.com. So that's UNDRGRND genius, so GENIUS @gmail.com. It's that same Gmail address, but it's that same handle on Twitter. You could leave a comment on YouTube or whatever the case may be. If you know me in real life, definitely put me on, stop me. And of course, you can use all of these platforms to like tell me how I'm doing. Tell me what you like about it. Tell me what you dislike, you know. And any and all feedback is welcome and encouraged. I would definitely appreciate it. It shows me that you're invested. And that's pretty much it. That's all I got for this episode. Not too much else. It's short and sweet. The next episode, which I'm thinking of probably debut the same time this episode does. I'm gonna be talking about a list of hip hop groups and a list of hip hop groups who've never released a project, but whose influence is still widely felt throughout the industry. So that's all the time I got for today. I'm Kyle S., and this has been Underground Genius.